Hey look, somebody asked me a question. I better answer it. Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today I have a question from Jacob. Jacob wants to know about autonomous vehicles. Specifically what he asks, and I'll read it. How much time do you think is needed for the population to adjust to autonomous vehicles, taking into account that autonomous vehicles will overtake conventional ones in the next 10 years? So I have to start by saying that this question has a false premise. It assumes that autonomous vehicles are going to be the norm in 10 years, and that is not the case. Now we will have semi-autonomous vehicles inside the next decade, but we will not have fully self-driving, doing it all on their own vehicles in that time, and they will definitely not be a large portion of the market. My assumption is that fully autonomous, self-driving, completely can do it all on their own, don't need anybody in the car to drive themselves vehicles, those aren't going to be around for at least that 10 years, probably a little longer. And then it's going to take at least another 10 years before those are common enough and prevalent enough that they are a significant portion of the vehicles on the road. So we're talking at least 20 years, probably more like 30. So we have to take that context in. But he does ask an important question when it comes to the population adjustment, the needed adjustments. Because the adjustment is going to be incremental, it will be just like most of the other major innovations we've seen. So we're seeing that right now with electric vehicles. It's an incremental change, it's taking time, and it's an adjustment. But for us, that means that me, as a person who grew up with purely gasoline and diesel vehicles as the only options, I'm not being suddenly forced into a brand new paradigm. I'm seeing it slowly change over time. My children will also see it slowly change over time and become the norm for them by the time they're my age. So by the time my kids average is 10 years old, they're 9, 10, and 11. So at 10 years old right now, when my kids, 30 years from now, EVs will likely be the norm on the road. And they will have had all that time to get used to that. That's a generational change. So we're going to see the same thing with autonomy in vehicles. They're going to take time. It's going to be a generational change. So we'll have plenty of time to adjust. In the meantime, there are going to be a lot of things that we get used to very quickly. Another good example of this happening is with a form of autonomy. So one of the early pieces of autonomy, which is radar cruise control. So radar-enabled cruise control, which I usually refer to as adaptive cruise. This is a system that watches the road in front of you and keeps pace with the vehicles that are in front of you. So the car slows down and speeds up on the highway when you have cruise control set. This came out just maybe 5 or 6 years ago as a standard, or as a feature that was available. And it's been growing quickly. And the reason it's been adopted quickly is because once people got used to the idea, they really, really liked it. And so now, there's other reasons too, and I'll get into that, but people that use it really like it. But people that don't use it don't understand it. So they don't want it because they're kind of afraid of it, right? You don't like what you don't understand. But over time, we have seen adaptive cruise quickly adopt across vehicle lineups to the point now where it's a standard feature in most every vehicle from the mid-level trim up. So once you get into the mid-level price points and up to the higher price points, and especially into the luxury vehicles, it's a basic given. This is part of the deal. Another reason that adaptive cruise has adopted so quickly is because other autonomous features in cars, like emergency braking, specifically systems that are sensing vehicles in front of them and then slowing or stopping the car for safety reasons. Those have become more and more standard. They're standard in several manufacturers' lineups now, specifically Toyota, Nissan, and a couple others. and they're quickly getting that way across the board. Well, those same systems are a big part of adaptive cruise control because they use all the same sensors. So adaptive cruise is seeing a boost from that. We'll see the same thing with autonomy. Eventually, most of the requirements for autonomy in terms of hardware will be in the vehicle already. Then it's a matter of adding the software and maybe some extra processors to make it happen. So far, we haven't seen a fully autonomous, 100% autonomous vehicle. Because of that, we don't know exactly what's going to be required to make it happen. We know what's required under testing situations. We know what's required under controlled situations. But in the wild, there aren't that many autonomous vehicles, not when you really sit down and think about it. A vehicle, and what I mean by a fully autonomous vehicle is I'm talking like a SAE level 5. This is a vehicle that can stop at stoplights, stops for pedestrians, turns, changes lanes on its own, does all of those things without any human intervention. And right now we have no production vehicles doing that. And we have only a handful of test vehicles that are doing that. So to make a prediction, I'm just going to throw this out there and make a prediction, and then you can come back and watch this video in 30 years and tell me if I'm right. My prediction is that in about 30 years, we are going to see autonomous vehicles as an expected norm. So people are going to expect to see these vehicles as the norm when they're buying a car. They'll be as prevalent as the automatic transmission. And then there will be a small segment of the population that demand no autonomy in their vehicle. That segment, that 2% or so, is going to be equivalent to what we have today with the people who demand a standard transmission, so a manual transmission in their car, because they want that driving experience. It's going to be the same with autonomous vehicles. And the hard part is going to be figuring out how, as a society, we're going to adapt to this new norm. And I predict it's going to be very politically contentious, but I think we'll figure it out. So there you go. Hopefully that answers the question, Jacob. Again, the premise that it's going to be in 10 years is untrue. It's not actually possible for this to happen in 10 years. Because of the way the market works, even if the technology was today, even if it was available today and could be on the road today, 10 years is not enough time for it to adopt across the board and become a norm. Anyway, hopefully this helps with the question, answers everything, and I didn't ramble too much. This has been Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com. If you have a question for me, you can hit me up AaronOnAutos.com. You can find me, you can just comment down below. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Just look me up. Make sure to tag me if you find me on social media. Email me. Go to the website up there, and there's a form. You can anonymously ask a question if you want, whatever. Just ask the question, and if I can, I will answer it. All right? This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.